Well, good morning, everyone. We're at time, so I think I will start. I think there may be some people coming in late, but we'll go ahead because we have a full morning of presentations for you. I am Donna Bliss. I am chair of the ICS Nursing Committee, and welcome to the Nursing Forum. We appreciate your coming to ICS here in Philadelphia, and are very happy to update you on some of the activities of the Nursing Committee and do some sort of presentations about some of the continence nursing practice globally. So as you can see, Philadelphia is my hometown. Some of you know that already. I lived here for 33 years before moving to Minnesota. I talked to my husband last night, and the temperature in Minneapolis where I live was 62 degrees Fahrenheit. In the morning, it was 54, and so I see that it's windy today, so maybe those winds are bringing cooler weather for us for the rest of the ICS conference. Here are my disclosures, and I will just put up the agenda for this session this morning. So we'll do the forum this morning, and then we'll move into the nursing workshop. Then as you see in the back, we have a setup that we will have our networking lunch. We can have our lunch separately here at the end of the workshop. So I'll be doing some opening remarks about what the ICS committee is and the history of the nursing committee. Sandy Enberg is going to present on the ICS Institute, School of Nursing. We're going to have brief reports from the three subcommittees of the nursing committee from their chairs. And then Christine Bradway, who is a local continence expert, is going to talk about her interest on obesity and incontinence. And Joan Ostrakevich, from sort of the other side of the world in Australia, is going to update us on the Continence Society of Australia's practice standards for continence specialists, and then we'll have some discussion. We have a very full schedule, so if you feel a need that you need to maybe take a bowel or bladder break, just feel free to go out and do that on your own. So I have sort of been presenting about ICS Nurse Committee at some different meetings around the world, and I was asked to sort of talk about what ICS Nursing Committee is in the history, and it was really a very interesting exercise for me to pull together this timeline. So as you, if you've looked at the website, you have seen that the mission of the ICS overall is to improve the quality of life for people affected by urinary, bowel, and pelvic floor disorders by advancing basic and clinical science through education, research, and advocacy. And so the Nursing Committee supports this mission from the nursing perspective. And so the first meeting of ICS, so to speak, before it really was ICS as an entity, developed from interest in bowel and bladder dysfunction and some of the technology that was emerging at the time, the use of electrical stimulation, and the observation that different practitioners as well as researchers were using different terminology. And so this group met to help standardize that terminology so that clinicians and researchers could sort of speak the same language to each other as well as to patients and be able to do research with some common terms. And actually, standardized terminology is still a very important part of the ICS mission. In 1998, ICS became registered as a UK charity, and in 2008, it went through a fairly major revision of its articles and bylaws regarding governance, election structures, and committee. That's when the Board of Trustees, chaired by a General Secretary, was established, and each committee office had a term of 3 years, often renewable for another 3 years. So it really became a much more formalized society back in 2008. And so today, ICS is a society of multidisciplinary professionals comprised of medical physicians, surgeons, nurses, physicists, physiotherapists, bioengineers, and scientists, if you had not realized that. The membership is over 2,000 from 80 different countries around the world. Our current General Secretary is Dr. Sharif Murad from Egypt, and the headquarters of ICS is in Bristol, England, a very nice place. I had the fortune to be able to visit the headquarters in the past. So nursing committee, how do we fit in the large scheme of ICS? There actually has always been a nurse involved in ICS, just not in a formalized manner. And so on the ICS Education Committee, which was one of its first very important committees, there was a nurse representative. And so in 2007, before the revision of the bylaws, the need for a nursing committee was raised. In that revision group for the bylaws, there was a nurse on the ICS Advisory Board. And so in 2009, the nursing committee became officially established as a committee. And Mandy Wells, you see her picture down there in the middle, was the first chair of the nursing committee. Mandy has since passed away, and we remember her very fondly as really being sort of the pioneer in establishing this committee. In 2012, there was really another revision of some of the sort of terms of office and bylaws of ICS, and on the Board of Trustees, which is really sort of the steering and governing board of the society, there was one position that was guaranteed for allied health. So either that position is for a physiotherapist or a nurse. It doesn't alternate. It's by election from the entire society. So a nurse can serve on the Board of Trustees as a regular member, but there is a dedicated member to help ensure this interdisciplinary perspective. And we have nurses who serve on the scientific committee of ICS, on the education committee, on the ethics committee, and the neurourology committees. And so it is really in 2016 that we have had our current structure in terms of office for our committee. I just also want to point out Christine Norton was one of those first pioneers of nursing in ICS, initially with urinary incontinence, then help expand into the interest of fecal incontinence. And Catherine Moore was a nurse on the Board of Trustees in the new structure. So here you see the current nursing committee, and those who are in the teal color are our most recent members. So I'm the chair, and I was recently elected for a second term, and the chair of the nursing committee, as well as all the committees, is elected by the entire membership. So if you are a member, you would have received this ballot. And we have members of our committee, some members of our committee here today. I'm going to ask them to stand up. So the chair of the research committee is Joan Ostrakevich. How'd I do on that name, Joan? Okay, good. The new chair, the incoming chair of the Education and Practice Committee is Joanne Robinson, who actually is local to you from New Jersey. Joe Booth from Scotland is the chair of the Communications Committee and is unable to be here today. The new members are Joanne Dean. She's here from Australia. Tamara Dickinson is an ongoing member. I don't see her here yet. Oh, did she step out? Probably maybe for one of those B&B breaks, right? Amy Hunter is not here, but she is a new member from the UK. Winnie Young joins us from Hong Kong as an ongoing member. And Angie Rantel, I saw, and there she is, from the UK. Our trustee, a liaison, each committee is assigned a liaison to the Board of Trustees, and that is Christina Ortiz, and she is in here. She was going to try and stop in. She joined our meeting the other day, but I think she may have had some conflict with joining us. Very helpful to have a liaison on the Board of Trustees to help advocate for us. I also want to extend my appreciation to the outgoing members of our committee, Alison Bardsley from the UK, who did not make it to this meeting. Sandy Enberg is here. She was the former chair of the Education and Practice Subcommittee. Veronica Hagar There she is. If you would stand up, Veronica, thank you for your service. And Mary Wild from the U.S., our outgoing members. We have co-opted a doctoral student who was Amy Hunter, who then applied and was elected to our committee. And we're going to talk a little bit about the involvement of a doctoral student on the committee a little bit later. And so some of the activities of the nursing committee that we do as part of ICS that have been quite successful is to offer our annual forum, which you are attending, that helps sort of update you on what nursing committee is doing and engage you. And really the presentations at this forum are more practice and project related. All the nursing research abstracts go to the general scientific session. So you will see nurses presenting abstracts either at posters, e-posters, or podium presentations. And so here we pick up the other aspects of our activities in our profession. We will offer the nursing workshop, which will follow this. And really, in the nursing workshop, we always invite and have been very successful including some members of the nursing committee who are some members of the city in which the ICS is located who are expert in continence to present. So we have some presenters here from the Philadelphia area, and we really do that in every city in which we participate. So last year we had some continence nurses from Italy presenting, and then we will also try and include them in the meeting next year in Sweden. The networking lunch is something that we have started last year. We received feedback from the members that they wanted some time just for networking and meetings. So the ICS Nursing Committee is here, and hopefully you will go up and meet them and talk to them and get to know us a little bit better. For those people who are members and can't attend the meeting, we will have a member do highlights of some of the nursing topics at the meeting, and those would be sent out to all the nurse members in our newsletter. We also have, as part of our mission, addressing the educational and practice needs of continence nurses. We are working on and really probably plan to complete by the end of this calendar year a consensus document on bowel and bladder training. And Joe Booth was the lead of that, and I'll be talking about that in another slide as well. Most of the members with the appropriate expertise of the nursing committee, as well as some of the nurse members of ICS at large, co-authored a book that was recently published by Springer, France, The Management of Fecal Incontinence for the Advanced Practice Nurse. This was really a remarkable achievement in that we were approached to do this book after ICS in Florence just last year, and we completed this book within a year, and it is available. There's some information at the ICS booth, but you can order an e-copy online, and a hard copy is also available, and there you see the link. This committee is going to be doing some strategic planning this year, and we're going to be asking Ashley for input from our members about what topics, scholarly topics and educational topics, we will be focusing on really in the next several years, because it does take, we're all volunteers on this committee, as many of you are. We are busy in our works, jobs, and so we want to really sort of target some of the topics we want to do that are of interest both to the society overall and to you. So we're going to be looking at that in this next year. And so look for some input from us, for some requests for input from us to you. The other way we try and inform you and engage you in what the ICS is doing, as I said, we have e-newsletters. There is a new initiative by ICS, and Sandy Enberg rotated off this committee and has picked up being the director of the ICS Institute or school, and she's going to talk a little bit about that, so I'm not going to go in there. We do have our own webpage on the ICS general website. If you need to send information to that webpage for our attention, you would send that to Jo Booth, and I listed her email there. And what we have on our webpage is some really, you should take a look at it. We try and post any clinical or research resources for continence nurses. If you have resources that you use and you would like to share it internationally, or you're looking for something, you can look there. We do put a link to the abstracts by nurses at this meeting that will go up after this meeting that we keep until the next call for abstracts, which would be March to April. We like to showcase nurse achievements, so we put a call out every year to say if you have any publications that are continence nursing related, to please send us the citation, and we will list those in the previous year up on our website. So if you're looking for some information about continence nurses, you can look there. If you've received some type of honor or award or recognition at your work site, at some professional society, we would be very happy to post that information and give you congratulations, because it's really helpful for nurses in all the different countries from which we have representation to see what other nurses are doing, and sometimes perhaps even be interested in contacting you if they have a mutual interest through the membership directory. So there you see the link at the bottom of my slide to the ICS Nursing Committee webpage. Joe Booth puts out a call for these this type of information every year, so if you receive that email from ICS, and have something contribute, please send that to us. Even if it comes after the call, sometime during the year, you can always send it to us and we can update that list. So what are some of the other things that nurses, not just nursing committee, are involved in ICS? One is there is a call to review scientific abstracts, and that will be something that will be coming out this next year. We deliver really high-quality evidence-based educational programs in many developing countries and even in affiliate society meetings around the world. In 2018, we sent a nurse speaker to the European Association of Urological Nurses, and the Pacific Asian Continence Society invites nurse speakers. Kathleen Hunter and I were invited last year to China as an exploratory meeting, and so we are going back this year. Actually, next week, we are visiting 3 cities in China. We are going to be delivering courses there for a 2-week period. And so there's a continence and urological nursing society in China who is very interested in exchanging ideas and receiving some updates on evidence-based practice nursing in continence, and so we are going there to deliver those programs. So there is a database that if you have an expertise, if you have some experience in speaking at a national or an international level, we encourage you to put your name in the database, because the ICS Education Committee really goes to that database first in looking for speakers for its various courses. The ICS Education Committee actually does quite a lot of programming around the world in terms of continence, and they will look there first. I'm going to ask Frankie Bates, who is the nurse member on the ICS Education Committee, to stand up. There she is. And she is really a liaison to our committee. And if they can't find someone in the database, they check with Frankie, who then checks with us, and then we try and survey members to say, to try and identify a speaker. ICS is really trying to be very cost effective, and so we often look for speakers who are in the region where a meeting is being held, so that we can save on travel expenses. And so Frankie and I will often try and find and suggest a nurse when a nurse is, or we will suggest a nurse even if one maybe isn't planned, to include one and to try and identify a speaker for there. So completing that database, if you're interested, is really a good way to become one of the speakers for ICS. We have developed some instructional videos on proper, we plan to develop actually a couple of instructional videos on proper urinary catheter insertion and care. There is a global concern about prevention of CAUTIs, and so ICS is planning to make that video in the next year, probably a couple of them, to help facilitate those efforts. So I just here want to list some opportunities for you as members, if you are interested in becoming more engaged with ICS, to encourage you to submit abstracts to the annual meetings. I believe the deadline is in December this year. Scientific abstracts open March to April. If you have a research project, it's a great meeting to present at. There's an early career session for those of you who are PhD students or new researchers to present at that forum and interact with multidisciplinary early career researchers. I was talking about the bladder and bowel consensus document. That is a document that is really a guidance document. There isn't much evidence for that, and so we're convening experts to contribute to that document, and is using sort of a online Delphi process to reach some consensus about what elements would be part of a bowel and bladder training document and what some of the objectives should be. We hope that may generate more research in the area and some evidence-based protocols, but we first needed to compile the initial document, which we think may help with that. We are still in need of 3 reviewers. We had a reviewing team of 20 nurses, and we had some people who were unable to continue in the last reviews of that. So if you are interested in participating in a review of the bladder and bowel consensus document, you can contact me at this meeting or email me or Joe Booth about that. Review 2 is starting. We'll be able to sort of fit you in on that. And the timeline for that is probably between now and the beginning of next year. So if you have some time to do that, we would appreciate it. I just joined the Standardization Steering Committee, which is, as I said, mentioned with some of the common terminology. And that committee is very interested in doing some projects with nurses and including nurses on some of the terminology reports. So if you're interested in something like that, please let me know. I really just joined the committee this week, so I have no idea what that would look like, but I know that there is some joint project between those committees that they are interested in. One of our next projects is looking at the competencies of the continence nurse once the bowel bladder consensus document finishes. Joan Ostrakevich will be leading that, and there will be a call out for that. Maybe she'll talk more about that. And one of the things that I think I'm trying to offer you these opportunities is, one, we value, the greater expertise that we have outside the nursing committee, but we also hope to use it as sort of a mentoring process to help you then, if you're interested, join nursing committee in the future. One of the things that nursing committee is going to be looking at on its applications, and this is really consistent with getting membership at large involved in all the ICS committees, is your participation in ICS and sort of help grooming you for a committee position. So attending the meetings, doing abstract reviews, participating in some of the activities of the committee, perhaps doing some presentations of your research will all be really good ways to learn about ICS, and that will help really improve your qualifications and increase your competitiveness to be elected to the ICS Nursing Committee in the future. So just as a sort of reminder that the annual meeting next year is in Gothenburg, Sweden, September 3rd to the 6th. ICS is also scheduling some regional meetings. There was one in Arizona last year. It's sort of in the maybe opposite place than the annual meeting. So the annual meeting this year is in the U.S., and so the regional meeting is going to be in Brussels, and that's going to be held December 1st to the 30th. Last year, ICS was in Florence, and the regional meeting was in Arizona. So these are sort of much more limited, focus meetings. So if you look on the website, there may be some topics that you might be interested in attending. So even though we're over in Scandinavia next year, there will likely be a regional meeting somewhere on this side of the world that if you can't attend that one, you can't attend the annual meeting, you may be able to come to the regional meeting. If you are a new ICS member, welcome. If you're here at the meeting and sort of just checking us out and think about, will I join this society, there are numerous benefits that you receive. You receive access to neurourology and neurodynamics. There's reduced registration for nurse members that you have seen. We offer grants, fellowships, research grants, a membership database in which you can network with multidisciplinary professionals who have similar interests as you do in continence, and also, again, ability to keep updated on science, practice, and networking. So at this point, I hope and extend an invitation for you to join us as continence nurses on an international scale. So thank you very much. And so now I'm going to ask Sandy Enberg to come up, and she's going to explain a little bit about the new initiative, as I mentioned, the ICS Schooler Institute, which will be a resource for members of ICS, and then we'll move into committee reports. So thank you very much.